Hey, this is Pat, and we are checking out the all-new Dainese Super Rider 2 Absoluteshell Jacket. So the new Super Rider 2, as you can tell from the name, gets the Absoluteshell waterproof liner, which is an all-new liner from Dainese, but it updates from the older version. And I think there's a lot of things we like about it. A couple things I would have loved to see Dainese maybe change, but overall I think you get a nice mesh, leather, and textile combination jacket for the sport rider out there with that waterproofing inside that'll help you protect against some of the elements, but still get you through the summer months if you choose to drop that liner out. So I think a great option from Dainese. Really has their classic style, their classic sport style for the everyday rider out there maybe commuting in less than ideal elements. But before we get too long-winded on all the features and things we like, we don't like, let's talk about the overall fit, because I got Spurgeon here on my left. He's 6'3", 220 pounds with a 44-inch chest, currently wearing a size 56, which according to the size chart is exactly his size in it. And other than that liner inside that he has a little bit of trouble moving around in the overall fit fits him spot on. So reference that size chart, use your measurements, and you should be all set. This comes in sizes ranging from 44 up to size 60, comes in 3 colorways, and he's currently wearing the black and fluoro red, which I think looks fantastic on him. And it comes in at the $580 price point, which is $50 north of what the older version was. And let's talk about what you get for that additional $50. So looking at the overall jacket and starting to break it down, you have that combination of, I mentioned before, you have mesh in all the key areas where you want that airflow to come through. A little bit of cowhide up at the outer shoulder surrounding these all new aluminum sliders, which they updated from the previous version. But I will say, this is just the standard cowhide. They used to use their 2-2 cowhide, which is one of their most sought after leathers that Dainese actually manufactures and uses themselves. They're just using a traditional cowhide up top. So again, that's a little nitpick from me. Would have loved to seen that 2-2 cowhide. But underneath there, you do get their CE level 1 composite armor. It's more of a traditional style with foam and a hard candy shell over top of it. That sits at the shoulder as well as at the elbow with an extension all the way down the forearm. We've seen this from Dainese in the past. I'd love to see some new armor from them, especially at this price point, but I'm not that upset about it. Something we've seen from them in the past. Moving down the shoulder, you do get that Mugello fabric on the outside. That's a stretch textile that we see in a lot of their pieces. Some microflexion around the outer bicep and an adjuster at the inner side. One thing I want to point out though is just all this mesh running down the inner sleeve. That's going to be great in the sport riding position. Going to flow a lot of air in there if you don't have that waterproof liner inside. Coming down the outer sleeve, you have the Dainese stitch logo. A little bit of cowhide. We'll see that when he turns to the side and we can get a better view of that, but you do have cowhide on the back forearm landing zone, and then the single snap closure, the Velcro closure at the cuff to go ahead and close it up. And one thing I will note from Spurgeon trying it on and myself trying it on, just keep in mind you want to keep that waterproof liner tucked in under there. We were talking it'd be nice if Dainese maybe found a way to cut that cuff a little bit shorter just to keep it from popping out. Just keep that in mind when you're putting it on. You might have to tuck that away. Looking at the chest, you get a little bit more of that microreflection up at the upper collarbones, but just a pure panel of mesh running down the front to get as much airflow in, especially with that waterproof liner out, get as much air flowing through to cool you off in the summer months. This used to be an X shape across the back or across the front on the older version. I like that they increased the overall mesh capacity on the front just to get as much airflow through. We got the new Dainese Demon logo over on the side with the textile over top. I do dig this new style. They've been using that for the past couple of seasons. But I will say you get this sublimated textile on the sides. I would have loved to seen this maybe be a little bit more stretched, something that gives a little bit more. I think it adds a nice look to it, but it doesn't help in the functionality. So Dainese, if you're listening, would love to see that get moved to stretch in some future iterations. YKK zipper main construction to enter into it, and then 2 hand warmer pockets on each side. Spurgeon, if you can go ahead and face the side for me, hit that riding position. At the side, you're going to see a lot of the stretch that factors into making this a sport bike jacket. You get accordion stretch up at the shoulder blade, and again, some of that Mugello stretch fabric at the armpit and running down the sides really just helps you get into the full tuck or the sport position on your bike. Mesh runs down the back of the arm to help flow some air, and I mentioned you'd see that leather at the forearm and elbow landing zone. That's pretty key. That's going to be right where you're going to slide, and usually where most riders will hit the deck in an accident, so I like that they've added leather there just to help out with a little bit. Again, overall, this jacket has a CEA rating for abrasion. At this price point, I'd love to see AA, especially from Dainese, who we know can do it. So just keep in mind they have those key areas covered with leather, but overall the textile is going to be more for comfort than it is going to be for abrasion resistance. Keep that in mind. Moving down the side, again, that Mugello fabric surrounded by that mesh and a single Velcro adjuster on each side just to hone in the hem. Spurgeon, you can face the back for me. At the back, you're gonna see this nice little hump at the back. This is more for aerodynamics than anything. Keep that in mind if you're wearing a backpack. Humps don't typically do too well on the street. With a backpack on there, it just adds a little bit more bulk, but it does create a nice sporty look to it and a little bit more aerodynamic if you're not wearing a backpack and just riding this in the normal position, say no accessories or anything like that. Pocket for back protector, and again, this entire panel is mesh, gonna flow that air out and through the jacket with a drop seat down below, again, to help hide in that sport tuck position. Spurge, you can go ahead and face front and open up for me. And what you're gonna see is this Absoluteshell waterproof liner. It isn't a destination liner. There are some seams showing, but you can 100% wear this off the bike, say if you get to a campsite or you're just walking around at any event and it starts raining, you can use this on its own. I think it has a nice look to it, but you do get snaps over top and a zipper underneath. And you do have a mesh lining going all the way in the inside of the jacket, again, to help flow that air through when you're not using the Absoluteshell. The Absoluteshell waterproof liner is probably my favorite upgrade, and to me, worth the $50 increase from the old version, because this is getting very close to Gore-Tex waterproof and breathability from the liner, especially compared to the old D-Dry liner that they used in the last one. I think this is a fantastic upgrade if you're looking for this or considering this. Keep in mind, it does have a short connection zipper in the back that you can connect it to, say, a Dainese pair of sport pants or one of their riding jeans or anything like that. You can get the belt and snap it into it as well. Spurge, you can go ahead and zip that up for me. So there you have it, the Super Rider 2 Absoluteshell. There's a lot of things we like about it. The Absolute waterproof liner, the CEA rating getting upgraded. I think they could do maybe a AA, but overall, I think the overall look, the mesh is gonna be something that's gonna speak to a lot of riders out there, especially with the Dainese flair that they're known for in their sport jackets. But if you have any other questions, go ahead and click that info button. That's gonna take you over to the product page where you can read other rider reviews and see what other riders are saying about the new Super Rider 2. If you still have questions, feel free, reach out to our customer service team. They're all riders, happy to get you all set up for your next ride. I want to thank you for joining Spurge and I and checking out the all-new Dainese Super Rider 2 Absoluteshell Jacket. I'm Pat, and I'll see you in the next video.